morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final stop on the Road to Regina Paving the Way series. If you have joined us for any of the previous sessions, you know how valuable they have been, and today is no exception. Bringing us home on the Road to Regina series is a very special guest, and I cannot wait to hear what she has to share with us today. I will put the agenda in the chat shortly. With respect to the chat, please do not put any promotional announcements in the chat. If any announcements do appear, they will be deleted. With respect to the chat, however, following the speaker's presentation, we are going to have a few minutes for a brief Q&A. If you have any questions for our guest, please put them into the chat and I will monitor the chat for them. For now, all you need to do is sit back, please mute yourselves, enjoy the presentation today, and I now turn the virtual stage over to our District Conference Chair, Leanne Woodhouse.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you everyone for joining us on our final stop on the road to Regina. Today's stop is respect. Dr. Jocelyn B. Tyson of Willingboro, New Jersey, earned a doctorate degree in 2006 from the Ernest Marriott School of Pharmacy, Rutgers University in New Brunswick. She is a pharmacist with over 16 years of interdisciplinary experience, including retail, managed care, and compounding. Dr. Tyson holds the role of Vaccine and Health Science Specialist at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, serving the Baltimore, Maryland area. She joined the Voorhees Toastmasters Club in 2021 and readily served in leadership roles, including club secretary and vice president public relations. In 2023, she entered the club's international speech contest and progressed through 3 rounds before winning at the district level. She advanced to the regional finals and became one of 28 semifinalists. On August 19, 2023, Dr. Tyson competed against 7 other finalists on the world stage in the Bahamas and was awarded the coveted title of Toastmaster International World Champion 2023 of Public Speaking. The World Championship competition starts with 30,000 contestants at the club level, located in 148 countries around the world. Jocelyn's communication skills led to the launch of her passion project, JTPA-LCA, which promotes health and wellness to local urban communities. Through this project, she enjoys teaching fitness and wellness classes and educating the public on medication and vaccine use. She prides herself on inspiring others to push past the uncomfortable, to face life's challenges head on. She shares a motto she holds close: with Christ by your side, anything is possible. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Tyson with respect, a building block to true success. Dr. Tyson.
Our story begins 1927 at St. Augustine's Theatre Hall, London. And Fernando Lugari steps out onto the stage. The audience immediately erupts in applause, for they know they are about to witness greatness. Fernando Lugari is the best organist, pipe organist, that the world has ever known. You take the icons of Elton John, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, pull them all together and you can only get half of what is Fernando. He lifts from his bow. He quiets the audience. He walks over to the organ, sits down, places his hands on the keys, and the magic begins. People are instantly captivated. The music transcends them to a completely different world. It's touching upon the tympanic membranes, kissing upon the mind, softening the heart, deepening the soul. He is taking them from past, present to future. It is pulling them further and further along in a journey of wonder. And song after song, concerto after concerto, he takes them beyond. And in a flurry of grandeur, he finished. The audience is mad. They stand to their feet. They give him an applause for an unheard of 23 minutes, pouring out their thanks and their gratitude. They need to give him something back because he gave so much to them. People are crying, men, women, because they have been changed. Fernando lifts from his vow and walks off. On his way to his dressing room, he's approached by a man covered in soot and sweat. Other than a soft limp, the man appears strong, shoulders back, head high. He says to Fernando, "We sure did good today, didn't we, sir?" Confused, Fernando says, "I'm sorry. What?" The man, "Oh, sorry about that, sir." He takes off his hat and pulls out a handkerchief. He wipes off his hand. "Name's Joe. I was working the furnace tonight, and it got a little tricky there with that second and third number. Ooh, buddy. But by that last one, ooh, we was cooking. We did good today, sir." Realization and recognition come across Fernando. For you see, an organ, a pipe organ, is similar to that of a piano. When you press the key, it releases a lever and it hits a string with the piano, and it resonates the sound from the body of the piano. Before an organ, a pipe organ at that, when you press the key, it releases a valve, and air goes through a pipe. And that pipe with the air produces a sound. And each key has a corresponding pipe. And again, each pipe has a corresponding sound. And in 1927, at St. Augustine's Theater Hall, that air comes from the steam, from the heat, you guessed it, of the furnace. And Joe was working that furnace. Understanding this, Fernando tilts his head up and looks down. "Oh no, sir. There is no we. I performed tonight. I am the reason those people were clapping for 23 minutes. I and my talent, the 30 years, and that final one, that good thing, my pied de résistance. No. That was me. There is no we, sir." Embarrassed, Joe pulls back his hand, puts on his hat. "You have a good day, sir." And he limps off, shoulders back, head high. Now, word gets out about Fernando and this 23-minute ovation. Now, mind you, back in these days, there was no Facebook, TikTok, or any of those social media avenues. They just had good old-fashioned word of mouth. And it starts getting out. People after people start talking about it to the point where the queen herself hears and wants an experience. So for the first time, St. Augustine's has an encore presentation. And this night, it's packed. I mean, standing room only. People are pressed up against the window trying to get a little piece to hear just some of the greatness that changes lives. Fernando steps out onto the stage. The audience again immediately erupts in applause. He quiets them down, walks over to the organ, takes his seat, places his hands on the keys, and the magic does not begin. Nothing. Zip. Zero. Nada is coming out of this machine. He's pressing things, putting levers, hitting things, not understanding where is the realization and recognition come across Fernando. And he gets up, walks off. Now the audience starts getting in a rustle. What's going on? What's going on? Does he not know that the queen is here? How can he not know? And he walks back, arm in arm, with a man covered in soot and sweat. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that last night's performance, epic though it was, is not solely due to my efforts. And tonight's performance will not be solely due to my efforts. I ask that you understand with me today that it is due to the hard work, the labor, and the strength of this man here. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and acknowledge Joe." And for the first time in his life, Joe received a standing ovation. And with a tear in his eye, he looks over at Fernando and says, "We gonna do even better today, sir." And he limps off, shoulders back, head high. I ask you this question. Who is the Joe in your life? Who is feeding the fire to your success? Are we acknowledging the people and the world around us that impart on us day by day? How are we speaking to those people? Are we acknowledging and humbling ourselves to recognize that they deserve respect? Which brings me to our final stop, respect. When I was asked to speak about this story, I thought of Fernando and Joe. For I think they have two parts that can be broken down so that I can share with you a little bit deeper. Before I continue, I do want to take a moment just to say thank you. Thank you to this district. Thank you for the opportunity to be among some of the great people that you've had along the way and the stop. I thank especially Debbie Walker in reaching out to me and how she approached me in my journey here with Toastmasters and with the World Championship stage. I've had so much interactions with people. However, Debbie approached me on a personal level, and dare I say, with respect. I felt obligated, and I had to be here today to share with you. And to the others that have given their time, to Leanne, to Dan, and to Vesna, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for feeding the fire for this event. And the road to Regina, paving the way, has been stops along the way of some truly amazing presenters. And speaking of the core values that are Toastmasters. First one was service. And you had Bram Mamone, a leadership architect, giving us a little bit of a preview of how the unsung heroes, the unsung heroes can give and pave a way to make a difference in our community. You had integrity with Marag Matheson, our Toastmasters International 2024 president, and she giving us tidbits about the integrity and the true characteristic muscles that we need to build up. And our third stop with World Champion 2021, Verity Price, recognizing that we take a moment to step into the season of yes, will elevate our excellence. And each of those are building blocks to success. So I feel as though adding respect on helps to build a very strong foundation for here with Toastmasters and for the world itself. Back to our story. Fernando and Joe. For the Fernando, I ask again, who is feeding the fire to your success? And taking a moment to recognize that the world has so much to impart on all of us, individually and each part and component. I think about my journey with the World Championship and getting to this coveted title. And though I did not have coaching, I didn't have a professional coach, it didn't mean that I didn't have a team of people fueling that furnace. My mentor, Rhonda Young, who listened and tirelessly when I would call her up and ask her to log in and listen to a speech or come by our Voorhees Toastmasters Club and just listen. To my fellow Toastmasters in my club in New Jersey, yes, listening in tirelessly and giving their feedback and hearing me, starting from my icebreaker to my contest speech and being in that journey with me. And to the clubs that I visited prior to my contest and fitting time for me in their schedule, making a way so that way I could have my time to practice and get rid of those nerves, or try to. Those were all pieces. Those were all people pouring in and doing work. Because without that, I would have just been pressing a key with no air. I'm reminded of a story, Walt Bettinger. He is a CEO of a major financial company, Charles Schwab, here in the US. He was giving an interview with the New York Times. And in the interview, he talks about his senior year in his business school. He said he had a business analyst course and he was coming down. He wanted to finish with a 4.0. He wanted straight A's all across the board. And he's going into his final business analyst course for that final exam. He and the other students line up and they get into their seats. The professor passes out one sheet of paper, confused. They look it over. The professor says, I've taught you all I could in these past 10 weeks about business. Now, mind you, Walt says he had studied analytics, he had studied logarithms and all kinds of isms to be ready for the course. But the professor then hits them with a curveball. He said, after you have studied as you have for the past 10 weeks, the biggest message, or better yet, the biggest question here is, what is the name of the woman who cleans this building? And here, this big-time CEO, Fortune 500 company, admits to the New York Times it was the first exam he had failed because he had seen her countless times. And he never once acknowledged who she was or her impact and how what she did, though it wasn't glamorous, though it wasn't the sexy, it was still pouring in. Her name was Dottie. When I heard this, I thought, Dottie is his Joe. And there's so many Dotties and Joes that are along the line that we pass day by day. And just a simple acknowledgement, sometimes a hello, sometimes a nonverbal, can sometimes show respect and giving that respect. So I think of the story of Fernando and the levels of success that we achieve and how we within our Toastmasters and our journey of public speaking, and we want excellence and we do our service and integrity, but recognizing that there's a time to now give respect to the people along the way. I took a minute before and started to research respect. And if you Google, by all means, or whichever search engine you choose to take, it brought up numerous definitions, top 10, 6 most, this, that, all about respect, whether it's between coworkers, friends, home, family. It gave so many different things. There's the noun, and then there's the verb. Of course, the noun is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something, elicited by their abilities, qualities, and or achievements. And the verb is to show that admiration. And how is that done? Through active listening, service, being kind, understanding. And I like this one when I read, it was treating others with dignity, valuing their opinions, acknowledging their feelings and their rights. No matter which one you decide to look into, overall, I do believe it's recognizing that your actions have an impact on others, upholding their worth and their honor. How can we, as Toastmasters within our clubs, acknowledge and treat others with respect? There's a few. Actively listening. And that means let's put the phone down. Let's fully engage when someone is speaking. Let's turn that off and turn into someone that is giving your speech. Now, over Zoom, depending on the protocol, that may mean turning your camera on to show that you're actively there and not doing the dishes and barely listening. Taking that moment to fully engage and to be there is a sign of respect when someone is giving a speech. Also, it's in the language that we're using, with words. Also, in the non-verbals, our tone, our eye contact, how we're holding our face. There's a term or phrase, fix your face, because we know that sometimes if I'm listening to you like this, it can be seen as not showing respect. But if I listen to you, Affleck, or just a smile, it's encouraging and it does have a moment of respect. Here in Toastmasters, be it that we are international, there are times where there will be cultural differences, and that does come into play. Being invited to be here in the US to talk to you in Canada and all in different places, I'm recognizing that some cultures have some things that they seem as disrespectful and some as respectful. And so it's being open and to learn and to be willing to be flexible and sometimes the beliefs to uphold and still give respect. I believe it's also to practice patience, to hold our tongue and just listen, wait. Because better to wait and be slightly delayed and still maintain respect than quick to act, quick to anger, and quick to get off track. Overall, it's remembering to treat others the way you want to be treated. The second part of the story, where there was Fernando, is Joe. Joe was disrespected. I think of, and I take my creative liberties in this moment since I'm telling the story, but I believe that Joe, I would think, was a big man. I believe he was someone who labored, and his description was strong. And here he is coming to speak to Fernando. And he recognized, because I do believe, taking off his hat. And in some places, we've seen it in the Olympics and whatnot, is when people take their hat off, it's a sign of respect. Often when people have their national anthem for their flag, for their country, or what have you, there's a moment of respect. Or certain buildings, people take their hat off as respect. So he approached Fernando with respect and shook out his hand in brotherly connection. And instead of being approached with equal respect, he was approached with disdain. I see that as a teachable moment, even in this story, because oftentimes we will not get the response we want. And how should we act? I think of Michelle Obama in her comments. She was said, when they go low, we go high. It's a response to reflect the solution. And it shouldn't come from a place of anger or vengefulness. When Fernando went low, Joe simply shoulders back, head high. I encourage you, my fellow Toastmasters, when plagued with moments of disrespect, remember that that's an opportunity for you to go high. I had my own opportunity to handle disrespect recently, actually, in a Zoom conference just similar to this. I gave my speech actually about respect. And at the end, it was open for questions. And someone privately messaged me a very rude and a very disrespectful comment. I was appalled, I was shocked, and I was a little bit hurt. I gotta be real. And all I could think was, wow, you could have said nothing at all, even if you didn't agree with me. But then to take it and take it there, to take it so low. But in these moments, shoulders back, head high. Fellow Toastmasters, and to our guest, respect is one of the core fundamental values of Toastmasters because it builds upon the levels of respect and success. We have service, we have integrity, we have excellence and respect. And upholding these core values, I think we recognize that we're different, that we are elevated just a little bit higher. And I do encourage you, not just within Toastmasters, but within our lives in general, to share this story and to give respect as often as we can, for we don't know who's fueling the fire in the background of our lives. And with this, I thank you so much for your time. I think I'm a little bit early, but I welcome comments and questions and for us to exchange in our moments of growth.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Wow. You started off that presentation with a bang and you had me from your very first word. I know it is cliche to say that we've saved the best for last, but in your case, I believe we truly have saved the very best for last. I'm absolutely blown away and thrilled. I cannot keep the smile off of my face, Jocelyn. I am so happy that you were with us today, and the story that you shared and the takeaways from that are very meaningful. There is one question in the chat so far. If anyone else has a question, please, by all means, put it into the chat and I will monitor for them. But I'm going to kick us off with a question. And my first question is, you mentioned Michelle Obama in your presentation. When they go low, we go high. That is a quote that I've heard before. And I find Michelle Obama to be a very inspiring individual. I've read both of her books, Becoming and The Light We Carry, and those are two books that I could read every year. They would be on my read this book every year list. Who do you draw inspiration from in your life?
I would say just as you read it, when I'm reading things such as the stories of Michelle Obama, there's also other books and literatures that I find inspirational. So I find that I get small snippets from different places all around me. I have been also impacted by some amazing women in my life, even my mentor, my parents, and so it's been just the family itself, and even some leaders, people that I've worked for, mentors along the way. And I feel like it's a conglomerate of many different people that I pull snippets from and use as inspiration, because I think that no one person holds it all. And I believe that because of that, it allows me to be flexible in pulling little bits from here and there of all the people that I have been fortunate to come around and to be introduced to.
Is there one person in particular that comes to your mind? Maybe someone's name we should know about and maybe take a look at for ourselves?
Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think, is there one person? Because I feel like there's so many. I'm like, oh, there's so many. Oh, goodness. I don't have just one. I don't think I could have just one. I'm sorry. Not just one, but there's so many along the way, though.
Awesome. Thank you so much. A question that was in the chat is, how do you continue to challenge yourself and grow as a speaker now that you've achieved such a prestigious title, that of course being the World Champion of Public Speaking? I'll read it a second time.
Sure.
How do you continue to challenge yourself and grow as a speaker now that you've achieved such a prestigious title?
I received the title of World Championship of Public Speaking in my second year of Toastmasters. I was on my first path. I have just now stepped into my second path, which is humor. I'm working on it. I find I'm funny when I don't have to really be, but now that I have to be funny, now you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. But I'm recognizing that there's still so much to grow. There's still so much to follow in a new path. And that path alone will start to challenge me. And even moments like this, where now I get to speak and I ask what the theme is, that's challenging me because it pulls you outside of your comfort zone and in different ways and different places and different options. All of those are moments to grow and to learn how to handle questions, how to speak to people, all these ways that I can develop. I by no means think I am now at this pinnacle of where Toastmasters should be, a Toastmaster should be, excuse me. I just feel as though I'm in the beginning and I have an amazing title by all means, but I still think there needs to be more development under the way. I want my DTM. And that means that I'm going to be actively involved in Toastmasters and in my clubs and wherever I go to making sure I get that. Because I think the journey is more so where you're getting a lot of that growth in that process. So I do believe there's many times to still challenge myself. Every time I speak is a chance to challenge myself. And so I do open and welcome any feedback, even from those here, about my speech and what could I do to help to build and develop. Did I captivate you? Did I do these things? These are all questions and things I'm still working on to grow. So I think there's so much still left in here for me. I'm at the beginning.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. There is another question in the chat. What has been the primary benefit of Toastmasters to you? I'm assuming you were a strong speaker to begin with since you joined in 2021.
Mhm.
So what has been the primary benefit of Toastmasters to you?
The connections, the people. The primary benefit, hands down, has been the people I have met along the way and building that and the process of growing with the people, not even just within my club, but once I went to district, and as I'm sure you guys will see in May, you in person, you have an opportunity now to speak to people. You start with the foundation that is Toastmasters and on how you relate on that, but then you go a little bit further asking, and so what else can I know about you? And what else can I help you with? Or what else can we talk about? And before you know it, you're having another connection and another connection breeds another and another. I was very fortunate in reaching out within my district and making connections to the point where I got a new job referral. And now I'm living in a new area. And now I'm doing, there's so many things became of just the connection within Toastmasters. And yes, I still needed to develop my speaking. I have a way with talking to people, but when it comes down to the bigger avenues and the bigger venues, that's where I'm still developing. So I still have some development there, but that was also a big benefit for me as well.
Wonderful. One of our audience members is asking if you could share a little bit more on your journey towards becoming the world champion.
Well, share more as
Well, you mentioned already that you won in your second year of Toastmasters and that you didn't have a formal coach leading up to it. What other pieces of your journey would you like to share with us?
I would say, let me think, because I'm thinking like, what haven't I not share? Definitely going to other clubs. I will say this, I treated every speech like it was a contest speech. The time that was where I kind of faltered when I came to or staying within my 3 to 5 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes. But every speech that I gave in my journey, in my path, I treated like this was going to be it. And I gave a lot of time. I practiced every day leading up prior to whichever speech I was giving, whether or not it was my icebreaker or the one working on vocal variety or one working on gestures. I wanted to be sure that I had a truly good speech that I was getting evaluated and feedback on. And one thing I will say is that I reached not only out to my evaluator, and I had what I was working on, as the assignment sometimes will ask you to do, but I reached out to other people I respected in the club, and I valued their evaluations because I knew they were going to give me good evaluations and good feedback. I reached out to my mentor and asked for her to give me, would you log in and of course and listen to the speech, and could you tell me where I'm going, and if you think I'm going in the right direction, what would you say I could have tweaked or added to differently? I did not come up with a speech that day and do it. I have to admit, I did not do that part. If I wasn't ready to give a speech and felt 100%, I didn't want to waste that time from anyone else. And I wanted to make sure that I was growing. And so when I got feedback, I knew it was something that I could really take the time to work on, because I truly developed over time. I would say that was one of the biggest differences, and starting to realize that I didn't have to be nervous. My change when I was thinking I was ready to compete was when I went to district and actually saw contests. And I saw them in person. Well, we saw them on the big screen. But I remember feeling like they weren't this major, huge, scary thing. When I first looked up Toastmasters, I don't know how it is for any of you here, but when I first looked up Toastmasters and typed it in, then you would get these speeches. And they would show you the world championship stage, the cameras following them around. They're giving these dynamic presentations. And all I could think was, yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. Maybe one day, maybe. But then when I went to district and saw, okay, no, these are what okay, these are normal people. These are normal speeches. It doesn't have to be scary like that. And I said, well, maybe I can try. So I would encourage everyone to take a moment, try a contest. Give it a try. It really does change things a bit, even how you prepare. So I would share that.
Wonderful. One person is asking, what are some storytelling tips you might have for us?
Storytelling tips. I would say storytelling tip. Now, mind you, you're getting this from me, so my point of view is maybe different from others. And I'm recognizing that people have a different way of telling their story. But I tend to be a little, dare I say, dramatic, smoosh, maybe a little smoosh. And so I find that when I give just a little bit more emphasis and I do enough movement that moves with the story, nothing too grandiose, but a little something here and there, I think you'll have ability to now draw people in and to truly captivate them in the story, and try to make sure that your story follows a good timeline and that it has some key points and that it's concise. So adding a little drama, timeline, key points, and concise. That's what I would share.
All right, and we have one last question for you.
Yes.
This one has to do with virtual delivery.
Yeah.
How do you adjust the Zoom presentation versus in person or on the stage? Any tips about audio and video?
One, I would say, is depending on your background, be careful that your background does not lose. It's too much. I find that the less is more when it comes to a background. Small visual, so you can give them something, is fine. But be careful about your visual effects. Also about your backgrounds. Though they're nice and they have great move, they look good. But when you're moving, sometimes your hand goes out of frame or an arm goes out of frame. And that's one thing for a conversation. But when you're giving a presentation where you want all eyes to be on you and you want no visual impairments, it's very important to maybe turn that off and just be yourself in front of the camera. Also, I would recommend to tape down your space. And when you're doing something that causes your hands to go out, you step back. When it calls you to go in, you lean in. But recognizing that you might have to dip a little bit because your screen goes under. So I feel as though the best way I would recommend that, record yourself. Good old fashioned, hit record, do a talk through, shout, move, and recognize where you're at in your screen, what your lighting will be. Pay attention to that. And what you see is what others will see. So sometimes have a critical eye, and it gives you a better feedback as to what you're seeing. Because hands down, it's completely different when you're in person. Because all right now is I'm making sure that I look at the camera, that I break eye contact here and there, but I want to look at the camera to draw the audience in. And we know that in presence, in front of people, when you're in front of people, you have to walk the stage, walk the room, look around to see eye contact from others. So there is a difference, but I would say making sure that you play around with the two. Just practice.
Wonderful. Jocelyn, thank you immensely. And I'm turning the stage back over to you for the next few minutes for your closing comments.
Thank you. The story of Fernando and Joe is fiction. It is a story I heard a long time ago when I was in middle school, I believe. And I believe that it resonated with me then. I remember reading it, and the names and the details have been changed to protect the innocent. So it didn't give me Fernando, it didn't give me Joe, but it gave me the foundation of a man that was so grand in his moment that he overlooked somebody when he deemed him not worthy or deemed him not important. I believe that in that moment when Joe and Fernando stood side by side, though I believe that Fernando may have been more cultured, educated, and higher ranking by society's sake, Joe, in this case, stood higher, firmer, and stronger because he recognized how to handle disrespect and still be respectful. We don't know how impactful the people are in our lives around us. So I challenge you to just say, treat them all with respect, because there's pouring in a furnace somewhere for somebody. They're taking on efforts somewhere for somebody. And we may not know their story. We may not know for whom that they're fueling the fire, but nonetheless, they should still be treated with respect. To show respect is actively listening, putting down the distractions, but fully engaging, working on our language and being careful about that, working on our non-visuals, the non-verbals, as well as the visuals, practicing patience, opening to cultures and different things, and of course, always remembering to treat others with respect and how you would want to be treated. Albert Einstein said, "I speak to people the same way, whether he is the garbage man or the president of the university." And we, as Toastmasters, as human beings, should speak to people in the same way, how you want to be treated, and recognizing that your actions impact others, treating others with dignity, valuing their opinion, and acknowledging their feelings and their rights. Thank you so much, District 42, for allowing me to be here. This was a wonderful experience. And I do see that the Road to Regina paving the way to your district event will be an amazing, 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 amazing experience. And being in person and to sharing and to hear your keynote speaker, by far, he is a good one. So I thank you again for your time and for your respect.
Thank you very, very, very much, Jocelyn. Yay! I'm so happy that you were here with us today. You had so many good points of wisdom and insight. Your opening story with Fernando and Joe, I think that's going to stay with lots of us for the days to come. And that is the goal, that the message stays with us. Thank you very, very much for being here and bringing this project all the way home for us. For everyone else who is here, we have a few things to share with you. Some of them may be reminders to you, and some of them may be some bits of new information. For myself, as the conference education chair, our lineup of speakers is finalized. Friday night kicks off with Christopher Chaschuk. He is the former Senior Vice President of Business Experience at Farm Credit Canada. He summited Mount Kilimanjaro last year, and he is going to be sharing with us some of his leadership lessons from that real life experience on Friday evening. You are not going to want to miss it. Saturday keynote speaker will be live in person in Regina. That is none other than the 2000 world champion of public speaking, Ed Tate. Fantastic opportunity to meet and engage with and get connected with a world champion in person. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you come to Regina. Saturday afternoon, there will be one workshop as well, which is going to be facilitated in person by Downtown Miss Cameron from Downtowners Toastmasters Club. She's going to tell you how to take that speech and actually turn it into a book. How many of us want to write a book? I mean, I know I've got a draft sitting on my desk right here. How about you? Maybe this is the chance for you to try that and dust off that project. And Saturday morning, we will have our international director, Kim Myers, present with us as well, bringing the conference to a close on this Sunday morning. The lineup is set. All you need to do, if you haven't already, is buy your ticket, put gas in your car, and get to Regina. I now turn it over to our district conference chair, Leanne Woodhouse, for further announcements and adjournment.
Thank you very much, Debbie, and thank you, Dr. Tyson. I kept thinking, wow, as I was listening to your presentation, but I feel like that was such a, that word is not enough, because I was absolutely mesmerized by your storytelling and your beautiful word usage, and the reminder that to always think about who is fueling your fire to success. Sometimes just a simple gesture like a thank you or a smile or an acknowledgement can be more powerful than we'll ever know. Thank you once again. So as Debbie mentioned, we have a full and exciting lineup for the District 42 conference happening in Regina on May 3rd to 5th. It's going to be truly inspiring. Not only do we have world champions of public speaking who will be joining us, we have their international director, and on Sunday we'll also be giving out the Communication and Leadership Award to a very, very deserving community member. We will have some great networking opportunities as well, so we get a chance to learn and grow from each other during the event. Registration for the conference is still open. We've extended our regular conference rate until April 20th. Register by then to save $40. To do so, go to the District 42 website, and the link is in the chat box. You go to the events calendar, click on May 3rd, and you can register for the full 3-day conference. You can register for Saturday only, or you could register to attend online if you can't make the journey with us to Regina. The full agenda and conference information is also on the website. It's in the top right-hand corner. You can click on that for conference. We'd love to see you in Regina. We do have a few rooms left at our special conference rate of $119 per night. If you're interested in one of those rooms, please let our district director, Eugene Seacat, know, and he can assign one of those rooms to you. In closing, I would also like to extend the entire district's thank you to Debbie Walker for organizing these phenomenal Road to Regina Paving the Way series. These sessions were incredible, they were inspiring, they were so valuable. I think they just added an incredible amount of fuel to our vehicles to get us to Regina, and what's sure to be a great conference event. So thank you for your vision, thank you for your hard work, and thank you for all the energy that you put into making these sessions a reality. Once again, thank you for Dr. Tyson for joining us today, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning. I hope to see you on our final destination, the District 42 Conference in Regina. Thank you.